sustainable development of the nation, the role of engineers jointly with Coimbatore Local Center, and a organizing partner for this program is Department of Civil Engineering, KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore. It is my privilege to welcome the gathering for this August function. I welcome Institute of Engineers India, Tamil Nadu State Center Chairman, Engineer S. Kannan, Honorary Secretary, Engineer K.N. Sivaraju, Dr. M. Gunaraja, Centenary President IEI, Organizing Chairman, Institute of Engineers India, Tamil Nadu State Center, and Engineer S. Ramdas, Organizing Secretary, Tamil Nadu State Center. I welcome today's chief guest. Today we are having two guests available. Dr. S.R. Ramanan, former Director, Area Cyclone Warning Center, Regional Meteorological Center, Chennai. He will deliver lecture on climate change, Iceland, an example. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Padmasri Dr. G. Sankar, founder and chairman, Habitat Technology Group, Thiruvananthapuram. He will deliver a lecture on towards a green habitat recovery. I welcome you, sir. I welcome our immediate past chairman, Dr. Natarajan, and immediate past honorary secretary, Dr. Ram Mohan, for this webinar. I welcome our secretary, Dr. J. Krishnamurthy, and all executive committee members of Institute of Engineers India, Coimbatore Local Center. I welcome Dr. M. Akhila, principal, KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology, Dr. G. Anusa, head of the department, Dr. A.K. Priya, professor of civil engineering, and Mrs. S. Bharani, assistant professor, Department of Civil Engineering, who are coordinators of this program. I welcome all the faculty and the students of KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology and various colleges. I thank all of you for giving me the opportunity. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Madam, actually, I need a small help.
Yes,
Madam, I had to change the PowerPoint. I thought of climate change as a PowerPoint. I will go to Iceland.
Yeah, sir, no problem, sir.
No problem. You are how to
just
go
give me
about
a
it?
brief intro.
No,
Sir,
how to go back?
Sir, you can stop sharing the
Stop
screen,
sharing.
sir.
Okay. Stop sharing means new share I start.
Yeah, sir.
How to go? Okay. Can you from your end? Can you do something for me in this regard? How to stop video? I had put not stop video. How to come out? I'm just thinking. Control Alt delete.
Sir, yes, sir. You just come out from the presentation, sir. You just press the escape button, sir.
Escape.
Yes, sir. You just close the presentation and open new presentation, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now it's okay. Now I have to go to.
Sir, now you can go for sharing the screen again, sir.
Okay. Now I should go here. Sharing the screen. Where I should be? Okay. நான் அப்புறம் பேசுறேன் சார். ஓகே. 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 Is it visible? Madam, is it visible?
No, sir. You can share your screen again, sir.
Oh, again, okay.
In the Zoom meet, again you'll go for scrap.
Oh my goodness, I should have checked the thing. Sorry. Escape, I will go. I have to again open the Zoom. Is it
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I will go to mail and then shall I open? Or
sir, Your Zoom it will be minimized, maybe minimized, sir. You just see the bottom of your screen that Zoom it is available.
Okay. Okay. Now is it visible? Am I visible? Okay. Yes. I think is it visible now screen?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible, sir. Sir,
I'll make it a
very
F5.
happy to. Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir.
No,
Yes,
fine.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
This is the
I'm very
Iceland.
happy to. Yes, sir. I'll just give the intro of you, sir. Then you may start, sir. So I'm very happy to introduce Dr. S.R. Ramanan, sir, former director, Area Cyclone Warning Center, Regional Meteorological Center, Chennai. So S.R. Ramanan, sir, is an Indian meteorologist from Tamil Nadu and official of the Regional Meteorological Department, has acquired celebrity status soon after his weather predictions about rain in Chennai came true in December 2015. One of the popular heroes of Tamilian, he got nickname like Rain God, Chennai Weatherman, etc., and also achieved a cult hero status within a short interval of time. Meteorological department officials does not have a favorable public image when it comes to their weather prediction. But when Tamil Nadu recovered from the worst rain in a century, the state's meteorological department is basking in a glow of admiration. And one meteorological department official in particular has become something of a cult figure in Chennai, and he is none other than S.R. Ramanan, sir. After completing his master's degree in Annamalai University, he received his PhD from the Madras University in the field of agriculture climatology. He joined the Meteorological Department of India in the year 1980. He worked as a forecaster, yes, sir, in Delhi in the earlier years. Yes, sir.
Okay, shall I start, madam?
Sir, 1 minute, sir. And he became the director in the year 2002. He later joined the Area Cyclone Warning Center at the Regional Meteorological Center at Chennai and retired as its director in the year 2016, soon after his flood prediction. He added career spanning of 3 decades in this field. He has been appearing on television channel since 2002 to deliver the weather forecasting. He came to spotlight during the Chennai floods in the 2015. 7 to 8 months prior to his retirement, Ramanan predicted about Chennai flood in the earlier November, and after his warning, the state government decided to close the schools and colleges for 2 weeks and also postponed the examination. It helped to save the lives of thousands from the calamities of the flood. Rainman Ramanan, word of rain, god of students, Malayin Mahatma, Kadalora Mavata Kadavul, and Minnalin Janal are among the names which Tamilian fondly used to address him later. With this intro, I welcome you once again, sir. The session is yours, sir.
Thank you, madam. So I am just going to talk about Iceland, which I found to be a classic example for the climate change. So climate change means rainfall pattern should change and weather temperature should change, all these things. As far as rainfall is concerned, we win in our Tamil Nadu, 1 year it is more or 1 year is less. So we can't say with certainty whether it is going to reduce or going to increase. But as far as temperature is concerned, it has increased. It is an accepted fact. Even by World Meteorological Organization, as well as by the IPCC report, International Panel on Climate Change. So now I am going to tell about Iceland, the geology of Iceland a little bit, and then about climate. All those things together. Now this is the location of Iceland. So Iceland is located in, you can see in the Atlantic Ocean, North Atlantic Ocean. So where it is located, you can see it is almost near the polar circle. So the word Iceland itself came because it's a land full of ice. That is the main reason. So how it has impacted, let us see. Now the first, some of the buildings I will tell you. This is the church they are having. In front of the church, there was a statue of Leif Erikson. This man is respected a lot and is supposed to have found American continent 500 years before Columbus. Now, I will tell you one thing. See, you see this this map, particular map. We have a North American plate and a Eurasian plate. both are converging and the plate is going through Iceland. You can see. See, this movement of tectonic plate only creates the earthquake and all. Now, this goes through actually the Iceland, and I went to the capital of Iceland, which is called Reykjavik. Near Reykjavik, they are having their national park, Valley National Park. Inside that park I went, I saw rocks, and I went through a pathway. Both sides of the sides we were having rocks. And these rocks are actually the continuation of the plates. This rock on the west side is the North American plate, and the rock on the other thing is the Eurasian plate. So both are merging. Now you can say, how you can say it is a plates are merging is just a rock. How you are telling like that, you may ask a question. The best thing we can do is to go to a ocean side. I have not gone, but I got the pictures. So the side, right side, you see the picture. When people go inside the sea, you can see a rock emerging from the base of the sea itself, from the continent itself. This side, also you can see the Eurasian plate. So this itself clearly says that two plates are nearby to each other. So this picture also will show the same. So probably people will come to a conclusion only if they dive into the sea. Probably from the land they may not be able to accept, but they have to accept. As you can see the line passing through it. Now, what is the significance of this plate, you may ask? These plates are moving away from each other. That is causing all the volcanic eruption, earthquake, all those things in the Iceland. And this park, you can see those two plates. I have already shown in the last slide. In addition, you are able to see a flag pole here in this place. This is called Althing. This is supposed to be the oldest parliament in the world. The entire island, even now the population is very less practically. So few lakhs only. So these in those times only few hundreds. So all the people during summer they will come and assemble at this point. So direct democracy, all the people will come and they will take decisions. So this is supposed to be the oldest parliament. And you can see the flag of Iceland. So the flag signifies what? You are having a red color, you are having a white color in a blue background. So this signifies what? Blue indicates that it is a maritime nation. People live on fish. By getting fishes from the sea and selling it, they are getting their income. So fishing is the main operation. So marine community is a marine region. And then you are having a white line, indicates it's a snow. That's why you have got the land Iceland. Then what about red? Because of the earthquake, because of the plate movement and all, you are having a volcanic eruption and also earthquakes. Mountain, this lava, magma, or things comes. That's why the red color. Now, while going through the road, on the roadside also, you can see a lot of waterfalls along. Plenty of waterfalls you can see. So in summer, when the temperature is a little bit warmer, above 0 degrees Celsius, when I went there, it was around 10 or something of the sort. So you can see the waterfalls. Otherwise, it will be frozen. 6 months you will be having light because it is near the polar circle. 6 months it will be dark. Even when it is dark, you will have some light. That's called aurora borealis, the northern lights. Similarly, in Antarctica also, aurora australis, southern lights they call it. So brilliant blue color, red color lights will be there in the sky. It will light up the sky. Otherwise, in summer you will having the because of sun you will have the light. And then you can see these waterfalls. The Gulfas waterfall, Golden waterfall it is called, nearly 1 kilometer long. And then another place I saw was a Kevit crater. Volcanic eruption took place in some other place. It created a crater in this place. So that's why this is a very important place for them. I could say enjoy it. And then you see, because it is in polar circle, closer to polar circle, you won't supposed to see big trees and all. Only some little bit of grass, especially in summer. So that is the vegetation you can see in one. Nobody can hide in Iceland, they used to say, because small shrubs will be there. Big trees won't grow at all. That was the scenario. And now the next picture you can see the glacier melting and becoming a water body. So that's why in summer you will have a lot of water bodies. Life was going wonderful in Iceland. But due to climate change, a lot of things have happened. Instead of shrubs, some started growing some few plants, and they started getting trees from Norway and started planting it. So almost like in Norway, it was also started getting trees. The place which was originally having shrubs like that, now is having a tree. So that implies what? Climate is changing. From a polar circle climate, it is becoming slowly extratropical. And you have glass houses where even tropical climate they are having now. That is the scenario. So then I went to a beach. Then you can see a black soil. Because of the volcanic eruption, whatever the soil comes, that thing is there. And you can see a lot of steps in the rocks. They are all basalt rocks. So all these things you can see. And now, Oku Larsen, I went to a glacier lagoon. Oh, there is a lagoon. There you have amphibious vehicle. That is, this vehicle can run on a land with the wheels. When it enters a water body, it becomes a boat. So in that boat, we traveled in that lake. Here we could see a lot of icebergs. How the icebergs have come? Because of the increase in temperature, the glacier melt has resulted in the breaking of icebergs, and they have entered that lagoon. And this is in blue color. Why it is blue? Because it's a fresh one. It is coming from the higher reaches into the lagoon. So that's why. In some of them are black because the black volcanic soil has settled over that. That's why it has become black. In this picture, you can see the glaciers among the tall mountains. So it is a worrying sign that the breaking of the ice is taking place and it's all floating. And the neighborhood, I went to a beach called Diamond Beach. But I went on a day which was cloudy. So that effect I could not see. But if it is not cloudy on a summer day, what will happen? This ice will reflect, or the sunlight will pass through the ice, and brilliant light will have emerged from the ice crystals. So it will be like a diamond crystals. So that is why it's called the Diamond Beach. The day in which I went, it was cloudy. I couldn't experience that effect. Then another picture which I took from the net, you can see that. And then I went to a place where it is called Stoku. It is a geyser. What happens in the ground below? This is also a volcanic activity. What happens? The water is around 120 degrees Celsius. In the upper part, it is something around 80 degrees Celsius. You know the water boiling point, it is around 100. This 120 degrees Celsius will come up and it will heat the upper portion. It will become 100 degrees Celsius and then the geyser will come out. The first geyser, or the first place where you have a hot water spring you saw was known as geyser. That is why even today in our bathrooms, we are having that hot water facility or calling it a geyser. That geyser, which was earlier found, the first hot water spring is now extinct. Now the most famous is Stoku. So up to 100 feet like that, it will erupt and go up. So people will stand around that geyser. The moment the water comes, everyone will run helter-skelter. That is what is happening. And then I went inside the town, city, and saw a lot of buildings. For a small population, why so many tower buildings are there like that, I asked. Then I found out that whenever you are having a computer facility, you have to store the data. You have to store it in a server. And the server has to be, you have to put an AC plant to cool that server. Instead, what many companies are doing is, they are keeping the server in Iceland itself building. So there is no need for an air conditioned facility. So the server will store all the data. So, and with cables you can access, absolutely no problem. And near the harbor I went, there are a lot of ships are there. The ships are taking people in the sea nearby to see the whales. And also you can see the puffins. These are the bird called puffins. The puffin birds you can see. People are worried about it because since it is becoming warmer, that northern Atlantic portion near Iceland, these birds also will like to migrate further north, probably towards the pole. And if they go further north to the pole, whether they will be able to survive, whether they will be able to get the catch of fish, whether they will become extinct, this is the question. Similarly to the polar bears. Polar bears, they are hibernate 6 months, they will sleep. 6 months, they will be active. We can see in Iceland, the northern part of Canada and all. So if the world becomes warmer, if the permanent frost northern poles, if they become water area, entire thing becomes Arctic Ocean. In that scenario, then these polar bears have to be alive. They cannot hibernate. They have to be active throughout the year. In that scenario, will they be active? Will they survive or they will become extinct? We have to see. Only time alone will tell. Now, while traveling, I could see a lot of these plants, hot water, thermal plants from the springs. The heat comes out and it is used to run and create electrical energy, rotors and electrical energy. And this water is also brought to the capital. So while bringing it to the capital, they take it in pipes which are zigzag, not straight, because the water gushes out with a great speed. So in a straight line pipe, it cannot be. So if you are having a curved pipe with lot of curves, it becomes slower and then it flows and comes to the capital. Directly, it cannot be used for drinking because it is having a lot of sulfur content. So what they do is, they take this pipe and attach with the pipe of the water supply pipe, they are attached together and this will heat the other pipe. So that the entire country, they are having a hot water supply. That is how the government is able to maintain hot water supply for every household in Iceland. And now I came to a greenhouse. Now tropical plants are grown. If you go to a store in Iceland, you can get a banana, which is supposed to have a polar climate, not even extra tropical climate, even a tropical climate they are able to create in a glass house, and all tropical plants are grown. This is the scenario. Of course, people can be happy that they are getting tropical plants. But on the whole, whether the human population in the world, will it be happy, we have to see. If that is the scenario, then it's a worrisome thing. So we have to see. Of course, buildings are there. So I don't want to go much into all those aspects of it. So with that, I completed my journey and then came back with a view that what is the thing that is bound to happen. If the temperature increases, lot of problems will come because evapotranspiration is more. You have to give a lot of water to the plants. That much water are we having in our ground, or whether perennial rivers, glaciers, if they shrink, what will happen? There are a lot of questions. Some small island lands, if the sea level rises, if this ice melts, like what you have seen in Okulasan, so a lot of these islands which are at the sea level, they will all vanish. First victim in our neighborhood will be Maldives, whose land is just a few meters above the sea level. So these are the questions to ponder. How to protect us. The beaches also in our area also will be affected. Whether we have to build walls like what the Dutch people have done, the dikes, like that we have to think. These are the questions we have to ponder. If any question is there, we'll be happy to answer.
Yes, sir. It was a good session, but we are expecting more from you, sir. We are ready to learn many things from you.
So then I will do one thing. I will go to the other PowerPoint.
Yes, sir.
The
Yes, sir,
change.
of course.
Climate
Yes,
change
sir.
PowerPoint.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely no
Yes,
problem.
sir. Please, sir.
Okay, no problem. Are you able to see me?
Sir, no, sir.
Then
Your PPT
I
is
will.
not visible, sir.
Okay, okay,
You can go for screen share again and you can do, sir.
okay, okay. Yes. Correct, correct. I agree. Screen. Where it is, I have Zoom. I am having a problem with the connection. Okay, is it Zoom? Okay. I don't know where I'm from. Okay. Fine. To put a share is not new share.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see your presentation, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Sir, before you start this climate change topic, our students have few questions to ask related to Iceland. So, shall we ask them to ask you, sir?
Or after this also they can ask it. I'll go fast.
Okay, sir. Because that is related to the
Climate change.
previous
This is a climate change.
slides.
That's
Yes,
all.
sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
So winter is warm, summer is warm, winter is cold is a forecast. There's no way anybody can tell. But I don't want to give a doom this day forecast that we are going to die, lot of things going to happen and all. So now the people, they confuse themselves with the air pollution, global warming, urbanization. These are the topics that are seen in the proper perspective. Air pollution means that oxides of sulfur, oxides of nitrogen. This what the pollution control board daily monitors, particulate matter and all. So I am not going to go inside that. And then what is if the river is polluted, well, you can stop the flow of the river and cleanse it and again start the thing. But the air which you are inhaling itself polluted is a problem. So you have to go to the source of the factory and then cleanse it. Now, what is global warming means? Certain gases, if the increase in their quantum in this world, it will increase the temperature in the world. That is what we are bothered. So, what are those gases? Why it is warming the earth? That is because what is called the greenhouse effect. So what is greenhouse effect? That we are going to see. So sun is not, sunlight is not directly heating the atmosphere. It is the re-radiation from the earth which heats the atmosphere. So akin to the light coming inside a glass house, actually it is trapped. That heat is not going out. That's why you feel warmer in the glass house. Same effect. The sunlight, it radiates in the shorter wavelength. It is absorbed and re-radiated in a longer wavelength that is absorbed by some gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor and all. That is heating the earth. So it is called the greenhouse effect, similar to the glass house. So the contributors are all carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, CFC. We are bothered about these gases. They trap. Because these gases are trapping the outgoing long wave radiation, Earth's normal temperature is around 15 degrees Celsius. If these gases are not there, what would have been the temperature of the average temperature of Earth? Minus 6 degrees. That is 21 degrees below the average value. So in that scenario, what would have been our lifestyle, our life, we don't know. Well, it is heating and average temperature around 15, it is fine for us. Why you are bothered about this methane, ozone and all? Because the trapping capacity. See, for example, you take density. So what you do, you keep the density of water as 1 and you compare other elements. Then you say mercury is higher density, it is 13.66, oxygen 15, like that. Kerosene is less, so it floats in water, 0.8 like that. So you are taking water as one and you are comparing. Similarly, if you consider the trapping potential of carbon dioxide as one, methane is 21 times powerful in trapping it. Nitrous oxide is more than 300 times. So perfluorocarbon, they are all the after effects of industrial revolution. Our we have synthesized a lot of chemicals like the perfluorocarbons, sulfur hexafluoride, many thousands of times powerful than carbon dioxide in trapping the outgoing long wave radiation. Then Earth becomes warmer. In that scenario, it is a big problem. That is what you call the global warming. So trapping of outgoing long wave radiation by certain gases is alone known as global warming. That's more important. So if that happens, what will happen? So it is increasing the temperature. So from 1850 onwards, if you look, the Earth's average temperature is something around more than 1.5 degrees. It has grown. That is what it is happening. So if it continues, it can grow further. And by 2100, they say much more. But if you take cities, certainly 2 to 3 degrees more warmer than it was some 30 years back. Because it is due to urbanization as well as global warming put together. So this is a worry of cause of concern. So you can see the rise in temperature, you can see from 1860, 1900 and all. In recent years, you see, it is more the red line. This indicates what the gradient is more means the increase is more in recent years. So even this year, recently, 2 days back, in London, the Royal Air Force Air Base, the temperature was 40.8, it melted the runway. Last year in Canada, which is supposed to be a cold country, a temperature of 49 degrees was recorded in the western provinces of Canada. So further, a few years back, Verkhoyansk near Siberia, which is supposed to be the coldest place in the world, it will be over -40, -50 like that in the winter. That place had a temperature of 38 degrees Celsius. The houses have been constructed in such a way to trap the heat. Those people found it extremely difficult to live. They have to go towards water body. Otherwise, they have found it extremely difficult to in the hot sun, torrid sun, to face the torrid sun. So what are the effects of global warming? Less snow and ice, that is a glacier retreat will be there, shrinking of glacier patterns. From snow, in some places, it will start raining in poles. Then it will affect the coral reefs. Like a lot of effects, changes in animal and migration pattern. Already last lecture, I told about polar bears and all those things. Rise in sea level, it can inundate some of the islands. So these are all the things. Agricultural production it will affect because you have to give more water to the plants. Because increase in temperature means increase in evapotranspiration of the leaves. So how much more water you can give? There is another problem. And you can't cultivate this rice, sugar cane and plantain when you are not having good rains at all. When rivers are not bountiful, when they are not able to give water, only from ground you have to take water and to give them. And the demand is also more. So you have to go for plants which demand less water, like pulses and your vegetables. Sea level rise, I already told, is a cause of concern for small islands. And then longer duration of disease, all these things. So the carbon sequestration through afforestation is one solution. Try to grow more trees. It is the best thing. In fact, Tanzania, 40% of the country is having a tree cover. Like that, you should increase the tree cover. See, if you construct these flats, try to have a terrace garden and surrounding places. You have a lot of trees. You have more green print surrounding your flats instead of cement flooring. That is much more important. You should have grass. Green print is much more required surrounding the flats. So the thing is, snow is having a reflective power of 80%. So if it becomes water, then there is a problem. Because the water won't reflect, it will only absorb. The temperature of the world will become much more. So Already I have given you the classic example of the polar bear. And a temperature of 26.5 degrees Celsius is required for the cyclones to form. If the temperature becomes much more, 30, 40 degrees like that, 30 degrees like that, 29, 30, this cyclones will be stronger, in severity will be more. It will become severe cyclonic storm or extra severe cyclonic storm like that. So, once it crosses the land, it will be devastating effect will be there. Sea level increase, so far it has increased by 25 centimeters only. More warming means it will inundate some of the lands. So Dutch are the pioneers. What they did was they built one, first they will build a wall, and from the wall, whatever water is there, they will pump using the windmill. That they did even prior to Second World War. Afterwards, in that area, they will bring soil from another good place, and then they will start growing the plants. And they made the wall stronger, thicker, and it is almost like a road, so that even when a ferocious storm, cyclones or something comes, it cannot penetrate, it can withstand that. So that is how they did. Probably we have to think like that to protect us from a rising sea level in future. And another example is if the temperature is more, your water bodies also will get evaporated. So again, it becomes a question how to protect the water in the lakes. So Gujarat, in the Narmada Canal, they have put this solar panels, and then some places they will put balls also, so that evaporation from the lakes are stopped. In the neighborhood of the lake, you can grow trees, so that the atmosphere itself becomes cooler to evaporate transpiration from the leaves. So that is also another thing. Or you can think of a lot of other ways also how to protect the lake from the evaporation. So small islands, they have a concern of worry. So these are the steps taken by countries. Maldives use of iron and concrete, because for laying a runway you need a 4 kilometers length. The capital itself is 1 kilometer, 1.5 kilometers. So it's on coral reefs. So they are using iron and concrete to use a 4 kilometer runway from the airport. From the airport, how to come back to the capital? Originally they were using boats. Now with the Chinese loan, of course now debt problem is also there. So they have built one bridge to the capital. Mauritius have deployed groins around the sea to protect the land. And then Seychelles, they have gone for reclamation. Even in India, we have done land reclamation in Bombay. Wagbear reclamation scheme they did in Mumbai. In South Pacific, small islands, they can't do much. So their only option is to migrate to Australia or New Zealand. No other option for them. So you can see the groins in the Pacific, Mauritius they have put along the coast. This is the concrete thing the Maldives have built for the runway. From the runway, you are having a road bridge to the capital. So in the lower pictures, you can see the reclamation of the land. They have put the soil in the sea and reclaiming land in Seychelles. So in Kiribati, you see, small island. These people, they had the land, but today, because of the inundation, because the sea level rise, they all vanished. Their houses have vanished. They are worried, but they are fighting. So we are drowning, we are fighting that they want to actually catch the attention of the world. In fact, Maldives conducted their cabinet meetings few years back, last decade, under the sea, because to show to the world that one day their island will vanish. That's the thing. They want to get the attention of the people, humans in the other parts of the mainland. So recently, after Fukushima, Japan built a wall like this. Wall building is okay, but you will not be able to see the sea at all. It will totally go. And then you have to build a sturdy wall which can withstand everything, natural calamities. So these are all the options. After Fukushima disaster, they had a tsunami wave, so they had to build a wall. That is what Japanese government did. And mangroves are another solution. They can slow down the speed of the waves. So we have to go for a wall as well as mangroves. These are some of the solutions for the coast areas. So how to protect ourselves from the disastrous effect of climate change? Coal is a thing which will heat the atmosphere, pollute it with a lot of carbon and all. So clean energy, and then LED lamps, which will consume less energy. Power saved is power generated. Renewable energy, atomic power, all these things. Cleaner technology, food security. Food security, we have to give food for all. So we have to find, agricultural scientists have to find the seed varieties which have less length of growth period and less water demand. So these are the challenges for the agronomists and agricultural scientists. So we need a change in lifestyle. Carpools, everybody can share their car so that the roads it is not much transport is reduced. Instead of one person going in a car, it can be shared by others if they on a cyclic basis, so that the vehicle population is reduced. Vehicle population is reduced means less use of your fossil fuels, petrol, and less number of vehicles, less emission of carbon dioxide. It will definitely help in reduction the greenhouse warming and reduce the temperature also, definitely, if everybody does. And green building concept is you can use renewable energy to for the buildings. Like that, you can see a lot of options. Then paint the terrace white so that the heat is not absorbed. Like that, you have a variety of ways. And you can use sensors inside the building. Only when you walk, the light will come. The moment you leave the area, light will switch off. Like that, you can do this is the green building concepts. So like that, we can think of a lot of options. And definitely, white terrace is always good. Up some 30-degree difference will be there between a black terrace and a white terrace. And then we can have a garden, terrace garden. And in Japan, they have 2 meters. Every household generate power with solar panel, and then they give it to the Japanese electricity company. Night time, they get the power from the company. So both the meters, they will balance and charge the people. So we have a long way to go. With this, let me complete my lecture and open for a question and answer session.
Yes, sir. It was a great presentation, and a few questions from the participant. I just noted down. I have noted down. I just ask you the questions from the participants. Sir, in the previous presentation, that few scientists has predicted that Iceland may be largely vanished in next 100 to 200 years. How we can protect, or is it possible to protect, sir?
Actually, I tell you, Iceland may not be the first victim. The first victims will be our Maldives and Kiribati, like that, which are just a few meters above sea level. Because Iceland is having a lot of mountainous terrain. In fact, the middle portion of the country is practically unoccupied, uninhabited. So it may not be much concern. Most important concern is small islands and coral reefs. And those countries, coastlines to protect, I have already shown that building the walls and having mangroves may be the best possible solutions.
Okay, sir. And have you visited Iceland, right, sir?
Yes,
so
sir.
Is it started sinking or?
No, nothing of that sort. The only concern is that ice, which was remaining as ice in the glaciers, now started breaking and coming down the lakes, Oaklarson Lake. It's a matter of concern. And used to grow only small plants in those times. Now we are able to eat tall trees. It's a matter of concern. The climate is warming. Indication.
Sir,
we used to see only shrubs.
Okay. Sir, is the people started facing any problems, sir?
Now, no problem. But these are danger signs. See, for example, that I showed on bird puffin. So it used to come to Iceland and lay eggs and all. Afterwards, it will migrate to the Arctic side, North Pole. Now, if it becomes warmer, in surrounding the Iceland, the birds won't come to Iceland at all. That's the thing.
Okay, sir, myself Muriasa Pandian.
Sir.
Tell me, sir.
Myself Muriasa Pandian from the Honorary Secretary,
Tell me, sir.
Osur Local Center.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent speech.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I have one question because most in India now, most of the places we are dependent on the groundwater.
Yes, sir.
The climate change and the groundwater, what is the, how will it affect that?
See, definitely, sir.
Yeah.
Definitely it will affect, sir, because you want to grow plants. Temperature increase, you have to give more water to the plants. So if you get from the river, it is fine. But you have to take it from the ground, it is a problem. Up to 30 to 35 feet only, you will be having the good water.
Yeah.
Then you have to go further, means for the secondary level, tertiary level, if you take, there is no point.
Yeah.
In coastal areas, the ecosystem breaks. As a result, you are having only brackish water. Only the sour water, this saltish water from the sea only comes out. So it's a matter of concern. So how to face it is, suppose if the rainfall is not good, in that year you are not getting water in Kaveri means, you go for pulses and vegetables. Don't grow rice, which demand higher water. Like that you have to think.
That means it is a big challenge. Everyone should work on this.
Because we need water to drink. That is much more important. So we had to balance. And we can get the rice from places where they are having bounty water, where they are growing rice, Vietnam or Cambodia, you can get.
Yeah.
So we have to think that way only.
Okay. It is nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Do participants, anyone have questions? You can unmute yourself and you can ask to sir.
Sir, good morning, sir. This is Krishnamurthy, Secretary, Coimbatore Local Center.
Yes,
sir, you mentioned about carbon sequestration.
Yes, sir.
Can you please throw some light on it, sir?
See, if you grow more trees, what will happen? So for growing the tree, it has to take the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis.
Yes.
So it is absorbing the carbon. So as a result, whatever extra carbon dioxide comes, it will be absorbed by the trees. So you will be happy. The reduction in the carbon dioxide, the atmosphere will automatically take place. So the best solution is growing more trees is the best of one of the best options available to us to reduce the carbon. It becomes the sink for the carbon.
So it can be artificially made at a number of places, sir.
Definitely, the terrace garden is ideal.
Okay, sir.
In fact, the solar radiation is absorbed by the plant and re-radiated, it increases the temperature. So instead, the terrace of the building is having a plants means automatically it will be absorbed, the heat will be absorbed by the plants. So plants also needs the energy. So direct sunlight is used and carbon dioxide is automatically used for photosynthesis. So the people below the buildings, they need not use much AC for cooling the rooms. That way, less energy is also used for your AC. So it is a win-win situation in all angles.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. Good day, sir. This is Choklingam Vijayarangan. Yeah, from Coimbatore, sir.
Yes, sir.
Basically, I'm a structural and oil and gas based consultant.
Yes, sir.
Currently, sir, now the carbon emission is important talk in the world.
Yes, sir.
And, what is our India's role? And the international market, if I want to give my proposals for some projects, what is the government of India's support and subsidies, sir?
Actually,
because we are also participating in the zero emission as a whole. Yes, sir. So can you elaborate,
recently, yes, sir. Government of India has done recently wonderful thing by increasing the wind energy. In fact, 8 years ahead of our deadline, our commitment by government, it has already increased that quantum of wind energy in many places. That's a good thing. Only thing is how to evacuate it. That is much more important. So that way, if every state government evacuates from the renewable sources, to great dependence on fossil fuel reduce, even our house, every house is having a solar panel on the top of the house. And if it generates energy and gives it to the TNEB, Terminal Electricity Board, in the daytime, and takes that energy from TNEB in the night time, they can give a subsidy. To great extent, electricity bills of the building can be reduced. we need not bother about it. The classic example is Sri Lanka. They are using diesel to generate power. That's why they are struggling for power nowadays. So the best is to go for renewables, and every house should go for it.
Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any participants have any questions? You can ask.
Hello, sir. This is Karthik Kumar.
Tell me, sir.
Yes, sir. Whether you are doing any contribution for this climate change from your side, is it possible for us to join you?
See, actually, for post-retirement, I'm doing only outreach programs. I'm going to schools and colleges and telling the people how to face the challenge, how to go about. That's what practically I'm doing. Because I have not joined any company or any government of the sort. So this is what I am doing basically. First, every individual have to contribute for this thing. So that's why from house, what I'm in my house, I'm using only LED lamps in all the places. So that's what I'm also advising people to use carpools and all. So this is the way we have to, every individual can contribute.
Yes,
that's what I am just doing, nothing beyond that.
Okay, sir. I'll be happy to invite you if
Yes,
at all
sir.
I get a chance for any other lecture for the
Yes,
students.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Thank
If
you.
it
Thank you.
becomes a movement, I'll be happy. You can start a movement. I'll be absolutely ready to join it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
There's something everybody has to do in the society. That's the thing. As an
Definitely.
individual, this is the maximum I can do with an outreach program. So that's why villages, the small schools, I tell people.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Do anyone have any questions? I hope no other questions, sir. Thank you for your lot of input and insights
Yes, sir.
about the climate change.
Yes,
So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam.
We go for the next lecture.
Yes.
Now I request Ms. Bharani, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology, to give the intro of next guest speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. So now I'm happy to invite Padmashri Dr. G. Shankar, founder and chairman of Habitat Group Technology. Sir, Mr. Dr. G. Shankar sir completed his B.Tech architecture in Kerala University and MS from UK, and he also completed his honorary doctorate from University of Asia, Kathmandu. He acted as a visiting professor from many universities in and outside India, and also he is an advisor consultant to All India Council of Technical Education, AICTE, and he has got many awards and held many positions in, and he also a National Director Architect Stand Frontiers, and he got Padma Shri Award in recognition of distinguished services in the field of science and engineering, Government of India, and he got National Award for Best Eco-City Design. We welcome you, sir. We welcome you, sir. So we can start the lecture, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If others can mute themselves, it will be better because the audio quality will increase. Let the others unmute themselves, please. Okay. Am I audible? Is somebody listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm starting my presentation now. Thank you for the glorious words of introduction. And I was actually listening to the earlier speaker who spoke with such passion and compassion. It was such a delightful talk. In the sense, he actually led me to a personal journey, you know. Iceland being a destination for me for long years. I've been wanting to go there, but till now I have not gone there. And the way he
took the subject around certain landscapes was truly motivating and inspiring. And also, I was listening to the concluding remarks of this gentleman who said after retirement, he is concentrating on outreach programs and trying to reach out to children who should protect the Mother Earth in a very passionate way. Thank you, Dr. Sharavanan, for your wonderful insights into the subject. Because, you know, I'm sure the seminar is designed in such a way that the whole seminar is designed in such a way it's to inspire, it's to motivate, it's not to teach, it's to hold hands and to lead the people who are listening to these particular deliberations, because you are talking about Institute of Environmental Engineers and things like that. So the whole idea of this seminar, the focus of the seminar is to build up awareness and a few questions that are very contemporary, contextual, which we should be able to answer. There's a brown agenda before the world. I mean, I will just share the screen. I will start my presentation. And there's a brown agenda before us. You know, this is very critical before we start discussing about the subject. The brown agenda talks about three things. The brown agenda talks about development on one side, poverty on the second side, and environment on the third side. This is a huge, I mean, when you really look at it, seemingly diverse elements. The whole question before the world is to build linkages, connectivities between these seemingly different phenomena. Poverty is a reality, especially third world countries. Poverty is a reality. Why I'm talking about poverty is in a particular context of urbanization. The pace and urbanization, pace and intensity of urbanization is something which is really staggering, overwhelming. When I say that it's staggering and overwhelming, I'm talking about the rate of urbanization happening in third world countries like India. India, although we boast about the first world status, we are still a third world country, and we are still grappling with some of the challenges that the urbanization is bringing. For instance, in 1980s and 1990s, we talked about the urbanization in a lighter way. But in 2020, we are talking about the entire country getting urbanized. 60% of the total landmass in India cities in India have already been urbanized. The rural areas are dwindling. By 2020, 2050, 60, another 40 years from now, India will be talking about 100% urbanization. Urbanization, if you really look at it, it's a promise. Why do people go to urban areas? In search of opportunities, in search of livelihood opportunities, in search of education opportunity, in terms of healthcare opportunities. We flock to the cities. But cities have thresholds. Cities have limits. And where does the pressure fall on? It falls on the poor people. The pressure of infrastructure, the pressure of growth, the pressure of development as we see it. It falls on the poor people. We cannot ignore that fact. So whatever strategies that we are going to talk about today, whatever strategies we are talking about preserving the Mother Earth, whatever environmental strategies that we are talking about today, we are actually talking about green strategies that have to be sustainable. When I say sustainable, it has to be people-centered. Anything which is not people-centered cannot be accepted by people like me. I'm an architect, engineer, planner, housing expert, but let me tell you that whichever is not people-centered cannot be accepted by people like me. So the whole question before us, as I said in the beginning, is to build up poverty, bridges between poverty and development and environment. There's a wrong notion that it is poor people who bring all the problems to this world. It is not that. They're more responsible. They're more careful, especially when you talk about the future of motherland. They're more careful and they're more responsible. But they're driven to the edges of. They're driven to the margins. So when I finish my talk, I wish you reflect on this diversely. Are they in contradiction? No, I will say no. Is poverty in contradiction to development? I will say no. Poverty is probably a big catalyst that can propel people forward. Poverty can leave you with dreams. That is exactly why when a common person from the lower middle class sections of society, when she became the president of India yesterday, we were all filled up with joy because of certain social equations. I'm telling you, my dear friends out there, whatever strategies that we are talking about have to be people-centered, have to be people-friendly. That's one thing. Development, we all need development, but we cannot compromise on environmental concerns for development. Environment is at stake now. That is what Dr. Saravanan was telling you. Iceland and the other places which are precious to the ecosystem of the world. They are going. Ice is melting. Floods are coming. And tsunamis might come. It will eat away our landmass. A few cities will disappear. They say that sensitive areas around India, I'm going to India specifically, like Lakshadweep, they are going to go. They are going to go very soon. We have a city called Cochin, which is actually developing as a metro very fast. Cochin might vanish from the map. These are all challenges. Iceland is just a symbol. When ice melts, when the climate changes, it can lead to rise of temperature, it can lead to emission of green gas emissions are going to be an issue. And this is what actually the initial speaker was talking about. And let me come back to the subject. I have actually, instead of sustainable housing, I'm talking about a recovery path. I still have dreams. Realities are very stark. But let us together hold on to this dream of a livable, lovable Mother Earth. That is why I very sensitively use the word recovery. Today, since I'm an architect, I will focus on habitat recovery. I don't think anybody else in the world has as much experience as I have across the world working in disaster areas, right from Kerala to Haiti. I've been involved in many ways, in strategies, in policy making, in actual building, holding hands. I've been involved in many, many levels, many, many dimensions. We're talking about disasters. Why do disasters happen? And what is this green relation to habitat is a question that we need to talk about today. Kerala, for instance, Kerala have a very different landscape. Kerala, we have a very long coastal line. Around 700 to 800 kilometers of coastal line is there. Kerala, when you really look at a narrow strip of land, you look at the map of India, you see Kerala is a long, narrow strip of land, tiny. Compared to Tamil Nadu, tiny compared to Karnataka, tiny compared to Andhra Pradesh, which are there in South India. Having said that, we thought we are safely away from the disasters till 2018. My dear friends, Government of India has prepared a hazard map which clearly shows. Am I audible this?
Okay, sir.
Audible, sir. Audible, sir.
Somebody else has unmuted, so it is slightly disturbing. Sorry. What happens is that the landmass is a critical landmass that we have in Kerala. We have highlands, we have midlands, and we have a long coastal line. We thought we are away from the disasters till 2015, when the Government of India brought out this hazard-prone areas. We found the whole state in that zone, Zone 3, which is as vulnerable, disasters when it happened in Uttarakhand, when it happened in Gujarat, when it happened in Odisha. We thought We were away. But to our horror, we found out that we are also in the same zone, zone 3. Parts of Tamil Nadu is in zone 3. I had been telling people like a prayer that disaster is coming. Climate change is going to be a calendar event. I'm telling you, retreating my dear friends out there listening to me, climate change is going to be a calendar event. We thought remaining in Kerala, we are insulated, we are away from floods. 2018 brought in extremely critical lessons for Kerala. A flood of similar magnitude and intensity happened 105 years back. We thought in 2018 floods happened. We thought we are safe for another 100 years. 2019, the floods came back to Kerala again. And I was one of the members, public forum and the private forum, NGO forum, looking at the reasons for mitigating the disaster, how climate change has affected the little state called Kerala, and what has happened. We have heard of tsunamis. I have seen tsunamis in 1999, when the word was completely unknown in our parlors. 1999, we talked about super cyclones in Odisha, where I had great opportunity to work with people. To 1999, what happened? The super cyclone came in. Along with that, tsunamis came in. We didn't know. We knew about 30 feet high waves coming and lashing the shores, but we never knew that it was tsunami. But in 2018, lots of landslide happened. A lot of people died. In two particular areas, Puttumala and Kavalappara, hundreds of people died because we lost land. It was terrible. We were thinking that it was terrible, terrible landslide. Water coming from the top, from the mountains. They washed away a few villages. That was not the reason. That was not the reason. And I although I'm an architect, I've been following disaster mitigation for a long time. That was not the reason, my dear friends. The rainfall that happened, intense rainfall that happened 4 days, precipitation happening, intense rainfall happening, and it destroyed the entire landscape of Kerala. The primary reason was not landslide. Deaths happened, 400, nearly 500 deaths happened. The primary reason for disaster was not landslide, not intense rainfall, it was something else. There's a phenomenon called soil piping. Why did soil piping happen? What is soil piping all about? I'm sure some of the engineers who are listening to me know what the phenomenon is all about. Kerala, when you look at the fragile geology that we have, there are rocks and there are gaps between the rocks. What happens during rainfalls is that water will get into the crevices. They slowly, gradually form big pools of water, almost the size of a pond, almost the size of a small lake beyond the Mother Earth. We won't see that. But during intense rainfall, what happens is that a vulnerable, fragile part of the land gives way. Then what happens? It is flood. It is landslide. It takes away everything on its way. Fury is something that has to be seen to believe it. We lost land. Why did soil piping happen? Due to, let me reiterate my word, unsustainable and undesirable activities happening in the construction sector. We are all engineers. We are a group of engineers, students of engineering. Let me tell you that with the undesirable activities, that is bringing unbelievable damage there. So what happened? We are talking, I'm not interested in the numbers. I'm not interested in the houses lost. I'm interested in the environmental loss that Kerala has sustained. Let me tell you, floods have affected your capital city also. Floods have affected Chennai flood. I mean, it became a part of our disaster history, the way Chennai was affected. But have we ever looked at the environmental losses? We have looked at loss of life. We have looked at loss of properties. We have looked at loss of houses. We have looked at loss of infrastructure facility. But nobody has actually looked at the environmental losses that city has suffered. And nobody, I mean, there are reports after reports being made, but what is the implementation strategy? Nothing at all. Chennai floods came back after a few years. I was also a part of the recovery plan, but I mean, nothing really happened. Nothing really happened. And these still remain as the vulnerable areas. Now, coming back to the basic context, we have two things that is happening. I was extremely lucky in 1996, which was 26 years back. I had a huge opportunity to represent India for this Habitat 2, Habitat 3 that happened at, was it Habitat 3? No, Habitat 2 that happened at Istanbul, Turkey. I was a part of Indian delegation, but I was representing NGO voices, people's voices. And we brought in two extremely critical terms in the vocabulary, world vocabulary, world habitat agenda. When I look back, people tell me how many houses. I've built hundreds of thousands of houses, all in green technologies. But what is your contribution to the world? I will say with such pride that I was also instrumental in getting these terms, in spite of the resistance of the first world countries. We brought in these two things that you see on the screen. One was about advocacy of housing. I don't want to deal with that, although it has got a connotation with the climate change. But it talked about sustainable housing in an urbanizing world for the first time in the world. It was brought into the world agenda during 1996. This is the habitat agenda now. Anything that we have to frame in terms of housing interventions, environmental interventions related to habitat sector, it has to be compliant to this condition. We don't look at it. And Kerala, for instance, we have also started a new mission after 2018. And as is the world says, we are also trying to build back better. Now, this is, I want to talk to you about the basic framework, template by which you should look at it. I'm telling you, my dear friends, from Tamil Nadu especially, local is the mantra. Use only local material, local technologies. Don't look at Western technologies that talk about different processes. Local should be the mantra. On habitat development, habitat sector intervention, please look at local materials and local technology that are sensitive, that are cost efficient, that are resource efficient, and will mitigate disaster. This should be the mantra. There is no other way. There is no other way to talk about green housing. Local should be the mantra. It was Mahatma Gandhi, a father of the nation. In 1925, he talked about Swaraj. He talked about building a house with the resources that you get from a 5-kilometer radius. That was the spirit. That was the spirit. That was the beginning of, I'm really surprised, 100 years before, our father of the nation had the vision, overwhelming vision of a sustainable habitat. And local should be the mantra. In terms of, we are still going through pandemic times. At least in the pandemic times, we realized that unless you use local material, you can't get marble from Rajasthan, you can't get Kota stone from Andhra Pradesh, you can't get the so-called technologies from Mumbai and Bangalore. We have to rely on our own technologies and our own this thing. And very important, to our own taste and lifestyles. This is very important. When you talk about design parameters, if you want it to be green, what are the design parameters? When I say local is the mantra, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, let me tell you, we should feel that we are so blessed. Why? We always have a bright sun and beautiful wind. We are into Adi Masam now. We are into Karkadavu in Malayalam, Adi Masam in Tamil. Adi Katta, the wind that comes during this season is something that will blow you away. Change the design. to bring in more ventilation and lighting. And that talks about a lot of things. It talks about sensitive planning. It talks about efficient planning. It talks about energy efficiency. It also talks about eco-sensitive strategies. My dear friends, I still keep that as a mantra. Wherever I built across Asia. I'm also building in parts of Asia, Africa, Europe. I'm telling you, wherever I go, if I build it in Kerala, I don't take materials from Tamil Nadu. I don't take materials from this thing, because we, in our own state, have such a beautiful building material vocabulary. Why should you look at others? A huge legacy of architecture. Just people said, why are we looking at the West for answers? We have the answers and we have this thing. Now, when you do that, habitat literacy should be put as the main plank. What do you mean by habitat literacy? It is something that talks about not buildings. I'm an architect. I should talk about green buildings and green. No, I'm talking about our concern should go beyond four walls. Beyond four, we should also talk about soil management. How are you going to manage your site? Tree is important for our survival. House that grows, pandemic times. I don't want to dwell on that because these are some critical interventions that will take time. Sustainability should be made as a launch pad for everything. Now, how do you actually plan? Have a eco-sensitive habitat planning is that you should listen to, please. One of my mentors, Frank Lloyd Wright from USA, he is supposed to be the father of, he is actually termed as the father of organic architecture. Organic architecture actually talks about sensitive architecture. It says a building should not be on a mountain. A building should be off a mountain. You know, if you look at the rampant construction development activities that are happening in the hill station, precious, and let me tell you, precious hill stations of Tamil Nadu. Next door, when you go from Coimbatore, Mettupalai, you climb up the hills. You see on both sides of the road, land being raped, the land being mutilated. You know, in the name of development, if you go up to the hilltop at Ooty, you feel very, very sad. Concrete monstrosities lining up both sides of the road. Monstrosities, steel and glass. You know, look at the old colonial buildings that were built probably a century back. Earlier it was Uttarakhand, now it's Udagaman or something like that. Ooty. You see the manipulations happening. That is disaster. That is disaster, my dear friends. And there is a particular way of building on hills. There's a particular way of building on plains. There's a particular way of building in coastal line. Unless your habitat planning is eco-sensitive, going to be a disaster, my dear friends. How do you do that? Comprehensive land use plan. Why I talk about comprehensive land? You cannot build on land which is not really suitable for habitat development. If you build on land which is not good for habitat, it will be disaster, my dear friends. It will be brought down. Disaster, my dear friends, it will be brought down. There is a hazard map. You cannot wish away from that. Government of Kerala, Government of India has brought out a very clear hazard map, which shows about, which very clearly talks about the vulnerabilities. You have to be very careful about that. And building bylaws as a whole should be rephrased so that it's more proactive and tries to face the disasters that might come. Having said that, when I talk about disaster resistant building, when I talk about sensitive planning, when I talk about eco-sensitivity, when I talk about resource efficiency, these are the pillars of sustainable housing. Resource efficiency, eco-sensitivity, energy efficiency, cost efficiency, local as a mantra. These should be the pillars of sustainability, because that is the only way to sustain the world, especially in habitat development. Let me tell you, so the concern should, when you talk about the concern, it should go beyond four walls. Cost efficiency is a major thing in sustainable. Whatever is not cost efficient will not be accepted. That is the mantra that I have imbibed myself. You know, there are these central government institutions I mean, I still remember when I was just out of the college, when I was getting into the field, they were talking about wonderful intervention in brick making. Brick, as you know, is not a very sensitive material with which we can build. Brick, I call it as an antisocial element. It destroys the mother in a big way. I don't want to go into that. When you really look at it, brick is something from where we should move on. Burn brick. Burn brick is something that actually is highly inefficient, highly energy intensive, and not at all sustainable. It's not at all a sustainable material. I put my head down in shame because probably I've done more than 50,000 buildings using burn brick. I was ignorant. I should tell you this. I was ignorant. When I realized that kind of havoc that is creating the mother, I moved away. I started building only in earth and consolidated earth and earth construction 10 years back. Even for multi-story buildings, I'm using only these kind of building material. Having said that, I was talking about habitat literacy, and I was just trying to develop that. Every building, new building, has to have all these ingredients together. That's a wonderful opportunity for the architects and engineers, environmental engineers. You have to have the eco-sensitivity to one part, it has to be cost efficient. Now there's a norm. This is what I was coming to. That cost efficiency and eco-sensitivity doesn't go together. Some of the buildings that I am going to show you, you might think that these are not, these are eco-sensitive. Obviously, these are some of the images that you're seeing in front of eco. I mean, I'm sure they're good to look at, beautiful to look at. But I'm sure you will have some doubt with the cost efficiency. I'm telling you, cost efficiency, eco-sensitivity, climate resilience, everything should go together. And that is the basic challenge before an environmental engineer before us. Let me tell you that. How to harness the energies of all these diversely different phenomena is the challenge before us. I told you when I just came out of the college, there was this beautiful material, brick, made out of compressing some of the materials, like coconut trees. We have coconut. Kerala means land of coconuts, a lot of coconut trees. So from the coconut, husk is taken and they compress it using some binders, and you make very beautiful, dimensionally very stable bricks, which have high compressive strength and things like that. Engineers always look at all these engineering parameters, whether it has compressive strength, whether it can stand the load, etc., etc. Their parameters were acceptable. Engineering properties were acceptable. But one thing that was not acceptable to me was cost. Because costing double that's not acceptable. That is not acceptable to people like me. When the cost efficiency breaks down, we don't want to bring in green interventions which are not cost efficient. So at that age, when I was just beginning my mistake, I rejected that. I told the research that if you want to have an intervention at a public, if you want to enter public domain, whatever intervention that you are making should be very cost efficient. It should be less than the market price. That was the whole. So you look at the images that I've shown in front of you. All these three buildings are mud buildings, earth buildings. Earth being, the middle building, if you really look at it, the roof is made of earth. The roof. It's not concrete. Earth is what I call as, in architecture parlor, we say that it's a kind of parabola, curvilinear, curves and things like that. This is the nomenclature that we use. Why I use mud? As I wish this building should actually create some discussions. The first question that some of you, especially students, will have, whether it will resist rains, whether it will resist, the climate change. My dear friends, this house, which you are seeing in the middle, 2018, water rose up to the lintel level. Purely mud house. Mud for the foundation, mud for the walls, mud for the rendering, mud for the roof. Mud everywhere, you have mud. And this is how you should, the architects and engineers, how do you add values? This is how you can add value, being cost efficient, but producing extremely pleasing, different visual statements with whatever materials that you have. Now, post-pandemic housing scenario has brought in very interesting interventions in terms of sustainable housing. I'm very happy about it in many ways. One thing that we have learned is the norm that small is always beautiful. It was E.F. Schumacher a few decades back. In fact, when I was doing my master's from England, he was there. He was still living. He had an organization called Intermediate Technology Group. Those days, that was the iconic this thing for all of us. Schumacher, who said, small is beautiful. Now, during pandemic time, we are realizing that small is beautiful. By small, we mean small habitats, small office building, small. What does small mean to the sustainability paradigm? It talks about resource efficiency. We are not building. Our mother can't actually hold so much of imprints, carbon imprints and the rest of it. So build whatever is necessary. That was what my mentor used to tell me, Laurie Baker. All his lifetime, he had been trying to speak through building. He will ask this question before he takes up a commission, whether that is necessary. If it's not necessary, let us not do it, was the primary message that Laurie Baker used to tell me. And to the extent possible, I have tried to do that. And need for healthy home. Sustainability means it should be healthy. It should be good for our health. How do you, I don't look at the ratings, my dear friends. I don't look at the buildings. All the 100,000 buildings that I've built, you have not gone through green rating. I don't believe in IGBC ratings. I don't believe in Griha ratings. I believe that all the buildings that I have done, including a small township that it's interesting that I built in Sirimugai near Coimbatore, how many years back? Almost 35 years back. Still stands, and it's an epitome of sustainability, which was built 35 years, small township, which I built for. I don't think the company is still alive. South India Viscose. There's somewhere near Sirimugai. From Metupalayam, I used to go to that place. Anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is that ventilation is very important. There's a term that I wish some of the students actually take into heart. Indoor air quality. Indoor air quality is extremely important for healthy habitat. When I say indoor air quality, we believe that outside air is more polluted. When it is smoke, the soot, we tend to believe that outside air is more polluted. My dear friends, rooms that are air conditioned, I'm sure some of the people will be sitting in air conditioned rooms, listening to this talk. 100% more polluted, my dear friends. Contrived air. Air can become kind of acceptable. Air quality can become acceptable only if there is cross ventilation. Where on earth we have such a salubrious climate, as we would call it? Coimbatore, Kerala. Where else can we have such a beautiful climate? We have winds. Let it pass through our homes. And we have such a bright sun. Let it come and flood our interiors. That is one way of making healthy homes. And in addition, we have to choose the materials very carefully. There are a lot of insensitive materials that are flooding the market. Glass is being touted as, they talk about green glazing, they talk about green air conditioning. Stupid is the word that I want to use. And I'm sorry for using such harsh words, but there is no other way. Now, when I talk about these kind of houses, I wanted to look at the houses here because they belong to several of these things. The housing complex that I built for the fishermen sector in Kerala in 2005, after tsunami happened, it won the national award for sensitive rehabilitation. Just below that, this is a project which I really take pride of because I built. You won't believe the number if I tell you the same. I built 95,000 houses in the northwestern and northeastern provinces of Sri Lanka. All using disaster Listen, that's the picture building. Very, very Sri Lankan. When you really look at it, you look at the colors that they use, look at the paradigm, the style of architecture, it belongs to the Sri Lankan population. And the building that you see just on the right of it, this is one way of resisting disasters in Kerala. Flood-prone areas, we are building it on stills. And the pictures are all related to disasters. And this is what we built in. I talked about Puttumala. Puttumala is in Wayanad, not very far from Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. We built a new rehabilitation strategy. When you talk about habitat intervention, you should talk about, I'm telling you, not about the houses. It's about the land, how eco-sensitive that can be, how the infrastructure should be laid, how water should be harvested, how solar panels can be activated. Off the grid is the slogan. Off the grid. We don't want state supports for creating electricity and water supply. Let us have our own water. Let us have our own sewage system, sustainable sewage system, and very sensitive environmental interventions. There are other, one more this thing that I want, no more slides for you. One more thing that I will probably talk on. One is this, can you take this thing and go back? Go back, I just want the screen, I don't want this. One thing that I want to tell you is, I made a very hard statement at the beginning, talking about climate resilience and how it is important to green habitats. What is the intricate relationship between climate change and architecture and climate change and engineering? What is this thing to habitat sector as a whole? But let me tell you this. Let me tell you very clearly that I made a statement beginning, undesirable building activities that are happening in the habitat sector are responsible. I will tell you some figures which you should take back. This is probably the only take back that I am offering you. Dr. Sharavanan was also talking about water. Water is a very precious commodity. Can you hear? Yeah, I mean, water is a very precious commodity. And when I talk about water as a precious commodity, we should realize the wastage of water that is happening in India. We have, I mean, Tamil Nadu, you're already going through drought conditions. Kerala was not like that. Kerala always had plenty of water, and we had water to get distributed to other states too. It was water everywhere, but not a drop to drink was the situation in Kerala. And take off the presentation. I just want my screen to be there. I'm sorry for this intervention. But Kerala, I mean, everywhere, we are talking about water everywhere, but not this thing to just get back to this. I'm telling you, we are talking about, this water situation. We had plenty of water. Now, all the 45 rivers in Kerala, they are on certain deathbed, and everything is drying up. And you know the kind of usage of water that the nation is going through? These figures should remain engraved in your heart, my dear friends, young friends, students. We are using 5 billion liters of water, 5 billion liters of water to flush out the dirt from our toilets. Water everywhere, but not a proper drinking situation in India now. I'm telling you, it's deteriorating in many states. Bangalore and all, you have to go down 1,000 meters to get potable water. What are we talking about? Water everywhere, but not to drink is the situation. And we are using 5 billion liters a day to flush out the dirt from the toilet. One. Number two, the total wood harvest. I'm telling you, as an environmental activist, that wood is the only way out. We have to have trees. 35% of the wood harvest happening in the habitat sector is being used primarily in the domestic construction phase. 35% of the wood harvest that is happening in India. Likewise, almost a similar percentage, 35% of the energy consumption happens in the domestic and non-domestic sectors in the residential construction. So when we really look at it, it talks about energy efficiency, it talks about climate resilience, it talks about lots of concerns that we have. Climate change is the sum total, I'm telling you, of all these phenomena, and we are responsible for that. This is my concluding remark to you. We, as engineering, a part of engineering fraternity, we are responsible for the can you put on the fan? We are responsible for the climate change. We are primarily responsible because what we are responsible for the built up environment. Engineers are responsible for the built up environment. And as a part of built up environment, we are actually responsible for the climate change. And this is my parting message. It's 12:15. I got probably another 10 minutes to take questions, and I would really welcome questions from the participants. Is that okay, coordinator?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Fine, sir. 10 more minutes is fine, sir.
Yeah.
Do participants have any questions? Sir, before that, I have posted a few questions in your personal chat. Will you please go through that? It is from the student head one.
What is that? What are the questions?
It is for the students.
Yeah, I'm not finding any questions on the chat box, so if somebody can ask questions, I will be able to. I'll be only happy to react to that.
Okay, sir. I'll ask the question on behalf of students. They are posted to me. So, as a student, how we can restore a damaged habitat as an individual, how it can be done, sir?
Yeah, can I answer that?
Yes, sir.
There's a term in engineering parlor called retrofitting, revitalization, rejuvenation. These are words that we have conveniently forgotten. Especially in disaster situations, what happens is that the building will sustain some minor damages. But in the hope that the government subsidy is given, government help is given only for new building, they try to demolish it. They have been, as a person who is working in disaster mitigant sector for the last 25 years, very actively across the world, let me tell you that. This is one battle that we have been fighting all through this thing. Retrofitting, maintenance, I mean, very general for maintenance of buildings is very, very important. Retrofitting is rejuvenating old structure by adding some, probably by adding some structural members, by strengthening it. There are 101 ways to do it. But this has gone out of vocabulary and this has to be brought back because it talks about vital concepts like it talks about reuse of materials, you talk about recycle of the basic building materials, etc., etc. So it's very critical for a country like India that we really look at retrofitting and rejuvenating and revitalization in a much better way. So damaged earth is there. But let me ask you, the person who asked me this question, Parani, that can we just stare at it and remain as a mute spectator? We cannot do that. We cannot do that. That is exactly why people like me remain in the non-profit sector. We believe that only by voluntary action we can actually face this. I'm an architect, and all these international development opportunities are there for me to gain money, gain popularity, gain recognition. But I remain in this sphere for one reason. India is a land of opportunities. There are lots of problems in terms of climate resilience. Can we hold hands and preserve the Mother Earth as our forefathers used to do? through your buildings. I mean, my field is architecture. So through my buildings, I'm trying to do that. This is the only way. Awareness is the only way. You can rejuvenate. You can rejuvenate. Let me tell you a very small example. As a part of an education against an airport near my native place in central Kerala. The airport was actually coming not very far from my ancestral house. What have we? My ancestral house is on a kind of a riverbed. It's next to Pamba River, the holy river in Kerala. Next to Pamba River, we have a passage to the river from our house. The well in our premises dried when they start developing this proposed land for airport. They filled up all the water area with the waterlogged areas. They filled up small rivulets that were going through, and our water level in our well started to come down. I was a part of the agitation which I went against the airport. I actually, being an engineer myself, we actually brought a procliner, the JCB, down to the runway, and using JCB runway, we dug the earth and we formed a small little rivulet, which was around 15 to 20 feet wide rivulet. That was where we had a rivulet earlier, and we just dug that and went back. The agitation actually was successful. The proposal to build an airport was cracked and it was taken away. What has happened to the land there? This particular small rivulet that we made by digging it became a river. In 4 years' time, that particular river has become 30 feet wide and full of water. When I look back, it's not recreation of a river. The precious resources that Mother Earth have for us, they should be reserved. They should be preserved without any concern. Engineering should touch that. That's my only prayer to you. If you're through your engineering, people, instead of environmental engineering, is talking about engineering plus environment. Can it go hold hands together? That's the question. And by these little kind of interventions, if we can really preserve the Mother Earth, I'm sure the future will be ours. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And one more question, sir. What is the difference between ecosystem recovery and restoration? Is it same or some differences there, sir?
What is it? Ecosystem and?
Ecosystem recovery and restoration.
Yeah, you're talking about recovery and restoration. Recovery is a phenomenon that brings people back. When I talked about green habitat recovery, whatever we are lost, we are trying to recover it. That's the meaning of green habitat recovery. We are trying to recover the precious resources and try to promote the usage of that. When I talk about recovery, you actually asked a question before about loss of land, loss of habitat. It talked about earth being manipulated. What happens to a damaged ecosystem? How can you bring it back? My dear friends, recovery is the only way. Recovery is the only way. How can you do it is the question. By a sensitive approach, by a very sensitive strategy making. Only through that you can recover and talk about the recovery. You also talked about another term, which was that restoration. Restoration is a very critical thing again. Restoration is basically trying to build it to former shape, but restoration in the new context has a completely different meaning. Restoration, if you want to restore a building, it has to be done on a very, very severe protocol. Restoration, especially if you're talking about a cultural asset, a heritage building, it has got its own protocols. But if you're talking about restoring a building, especially when do you want to restore a building? when it sustains damages. Why do damages happen? Probably due to climate change, probably due to disaster. So you have to follow this protocol. If it happens just because of challenges in the climate, if it happens, the damages happen due to unsustainable practices, you have to look at it. One of the greatest dangers that we have in civil engineering parlor is unequal settlement of buildings. When it happens often in disaster areas, because I don't want to go into the intricacies of disaster, earth just melts, liquefies in some portion, at the hub of the disaster, especially earthquakes and all, earth just melts and one side just falls, it gives way. When it gives way, the building topples. That's how most of the dangers happen. And one part of the building remains stable and firm, the other part gives way. That will actually lead to total collapse of the building. So this is what you should restore now. When you restore, you do it with spirit. Restoration also carries a spirit, not only the engineering knowledge. It should be restored to the, when you mean restored to the old condition. In architectural styles, in lifestyle, it should restore, the building should be restored back to the old glory. So this is the basic difference between recovery and restoration as far as general parlance is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question. How we can protect animal habitats?
How do you protect?
Animal habitat.
Animal?
Yes, sir.
You said animal?
Yes, sir. Animal, sir.
In disaster situations?
Yes, sir.
Disaster situations? That's a very interesting question. But actually, one thing that happened in disasters and as across the world, one thing that has happened is that you actually tie the animals to some positions, and they get trapped and they get killed. When the floods come and the earthquake comes, my feeling is animals have got a miraculous faculty to sense earthquakes, to sense rainfalls, immaculate faculty. My simple intervention is leave them free. They will. I mean, I actually have a few cows and goats in my property. My property is flood prone. Every time it rains very heavily, the whole property gets flooded. What I do is just untie them. They will slowly walk to, when the rain comes, when it starts, they will walk to their areas of safety. The death happens when you tie. If you don't tie them up, they will find their ways of safety. There is no other way to explain this thing. Yeah. That's an interesting question. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And participants, do anyone have any questions? You can unmute yourself and you can directly ask us.
I think it's 12:26 already. And
one question.
Yeah.
Sir, you told it is cost effective to go for green habitat.
Yeah.
But how to promote green habitat culture in our society, even if the numbers are very less now, as on now?
Sir, how I deal with that, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's my experience and my life. Tell that this is the only option. Tell that this is the only option left for you. That's one thing. Tell that you are going to healthy home by doing this. We are basically talking about better ventilation and better lighting and this thing. And very critical, I use earth in a big way. I use earth as a basic building materials, even for multi-story buildings. Why I talk about earth is for one reason. There are several parameters by which I select the material. One, it is a no-cost material. You can take it from your mother. No-cost material. It's not a low-cost material. You can term it as a no-cost material. It is, so we are talking about a cost-efficient material, cost efficiency, almost free of cost. Now, two, processing doesn't mean any interventions. It's only mechanical intervention by compressing it. By compression, you get the effective compressive strength in engineering parlors. So many kilograms per centimeter square you get. There is no processes. The process that we use for getting the bricks burnt is unacceptable because they are destroying our fields. Very unacceptable because in Kerala, what's happening, we are cutting down coconut trees after coconut trees to burn. This is not acceptable. And violating the basic norms of, the rice fields are being converted to brick kilns. And that's why I'm taking away from and using mud as a basic building material. It is insulating, my dear sir. Sir, it's insulating. When I say about insulation, it's very critical in places like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, in Coimbatore and Trivandrum, where I'm speaking from. It's equally important. Because climate is getting hotter and hotter. Day by day, Coimbatore and I'm very familiar with the climate because how my family is there now. It is very critical that we have to have insulating walls. Mud insulates, earth insulates. So it qualifies in all parameters. It's cost efficient, energy efficient, cost sensitive. It is insulating, easy to build. We don't have to. Local is the mantra. So everywhere we qualify mud as a sustainable building material. Only through such interventions can we go through. Now, when you asked a question whether the client will accept it, when the client realizes that through this building, he's going to save money. He is going to have a cooler interior. He is going to have a very pleasant interior. And he can save money, which is very important. You don't talk about eco-sensitivity and energy efficient to a client, but eventually he will understand what it means. When his electricity bill comes down, when he sees the electricity bill of the neighbor, he will realize that, yes, he has only gained. This is the only way. I mean, sensitization is the way. Personally, I have taken a lifetime to promote this. I've gone through, I have taken my sweat and tears to promote this, but I'm here to stay. When I say that I'm here to stay, green buildings are also here. In spite of resistance of the other builders, it's here to stay. And I still firmly believe that after my times also, this movement will continue to grow because there is no other option left for mankind. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you for interventions.
Thank you,
I think
sir.
my
Thank
time
you
is
for
up.
your
And thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It was really interesting and inspiring talk from your side, sir. So now I request Dr. J. Krishnamurthy, sir, Honorary Secretary, IEI Coimbatore Local Center, to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, madam. Good afternoon to one and all present online in this technical webinar. We, IEI Coimbatore Local Center, with KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology as organizing partner, are delighted to have this technical webinar as a part of the Institution of Engineers India, Tamil Nadu State Center Centenary celebrations, 100 hours IEI TNSC TECHNO CARNIVAL, an attempt for Asia Book of Records. It is my present duty to propose vote of thanks in this gathering. First of all, I thank our Coimbatore Center Chairman, Dr. S. Shanmugam, the president of this today's function. Thank you, sir, for joining online with us, even if you are in the other part of the earth, at the midnight you joined. Thank you, sir. I thank the guest speakers for accepting our request to give their talk in this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Ramanan, sir, for the lecture on climate change with suitable examples. Thank you, Padma Shri, Dr. Shankar, sir, for his talk on green habitat recovery. I'm sure that our participants had a great time by getting more exposure on these topics, sir. Thank you very much, sir. My sincere thanks to the principal and management of KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology for associating with us in organizing this event. I also thank Dr. T.M. Gudaraja, organizing chairman, and Engineer R. Ramadas, organizing secretary of Tamil Nadu State Center sanitary celebrations, and also Engineer S. Kannan, Chairman, and Engineer K.N. Sivaraju, Honorary Secretary of IEI Tamil Nadu State Center. I thank Lieutenant Dr. A.K. Priya, Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology, the program coordinator of this event, for her efforts in getting the speakers, eminent speakers, and arranging this technical webinar. Thank you very much, madam. My sincere thanks to Mrs. S. Bharani and Mrs. Alaguradi, Mrs. S. Bharani from KPR Institute and Mrs. Alaguradi from Tamil Nadu State Center's office for their help in arranging this event. My sincere thanks to the committee members of Coimbatore Local Center, Tamil Nadu State Center, and chairman, secretaries, members from various centers in Tamil Nadu, faculty and student friends from KPR Institute and other colleges for their participation in this event. Thank you one and all. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Madam, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We formally wind this session.
Thank you.